focus solely on our... Well, let me ask you this. You've told me a lot of what Vernon Howell wasn't. What was he?
Okay, I believe he was a man chosen of God that knew he was going to break the law of God, because that's how he was going to fulfill what he was asked to do. That's why I say he represented, or he claimed to represent, the Prince of Persia, who was a non-believer, a heathen in Judeo-Christian beliefs. Yet he was anointed of God to free God's people from Babylon. So Vernon Howell, as David Koresh, playing the part of Koresh, I believe was serving God, not the way his followers believe he was serving God, because they believe he never sinned, he had no reason to be punished, he had no reason to be judged. But I believe the exact opposite. He came to show that when you claim to have the mind of God, claim to sit in the seat of God, and claim to be God, and you're just a man, as it says in Ezekiel 28, the Lord is going to bring on you a judgment. And he knew that. But the elders of the church didn't understand what he was fulfilling. But yet he knew that I understood what he was doing. That's why he said, this brother's teaching truth. But you ask Clive Doyle if I'm teaching truth, he'll say, no, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But yet Vernon Howell himself said it in front of him and in front of all the elders of the church. But they don't remember that. That's the part they don't want to remember, because they went on to follow him, went on to give their daughters to him. He talked them into sinning with him, is basically what he did. And he told them, isn't anyone here going to tell me where I'm wrong? Aren't you going to show me from the scriptures where I'm wrong, instead of agreeing with me all the time? And that's what basically happened here. He came and judged by having them follow him into apostasy and rejecting who Christ and the Holy Spirit really are, and claiming to take their place. It's as simple as that. And the elders still, Clive Doyle, it's been over 20 years now. In 1984 is when Vernon agreed with me and said, yes, I'm the one that's bringing this apostate movement that's been prophesied. And he went ahead and did it. But they were the ones that were involved in it with him, or he couldn't have done it without them. You understand what I'm saying? And it was to be an example for all churches that anyone, because in Ezekiel 28, which is the chapter that was fulfilled, and Ezekiel 9, it says that because thou hast said, I have the mind of God, I sit in the seat of God, and I am God, I, the Lord, I'm going to send strangers, the terrible of the nations, the most elite force, okay? And they're going to bring you down with the sword. Well, see how much of a God you are in the hands of those that slay you? You're not a God, you're just a man. Now, that elite force was the Delta Force. There were 5 men from the Delta Force here. And it wasn't the FBI, it wasn't the ATF that did all the, slaughtering and burning up. It was the Delta Force. And they're not held responsible for the orders that they're given by their higher-ups. They're not personally held responsible. And in Ezekiel 9 it says, and I told him in 1984, I said, if you're saying you're the one that, is bringing this apostate movement, then that means you're going to be judged by the Ezekiel 9 slaughter, which means the slaughter of men, women, maids, and little children. And there's going to be a fire that's going to, devour the whole place. And he agreed with me. See, that was the prophecy. That's what most people don't understand. But there's another prophecy that after 20 years, the elders of the church, the leaders of the church aren't going to believe it still. But the public and others, the common people, are going to start to understand what really and truly happened here. It was orchestrated by the Lord to show that he was in judgment. And he judged his own people first. And it says, if judgment begins at the house of God, 1 Peter 4:17, how is he going to judge those that believe not the gospel, if he was this harsh with his own people. And it was a wake-up call, because we have a one world order that's going to take away our God-given rights. And this one world order is basically going to implement Sharia law. The Muslims are going to try to take over the whole world with their religion. And if you don't believe, it doesn't matter whether you're a Christian, a Jew, even an atheist, if you don't believe what they are declaring, that their Mahdi is the one to be honored and worshipped and listened to, off with your head. And that's basically what was, that's basically what Koresh was teaching, that he and his mighty men were going to slaughter and purify the whole world, because from those that wouldn't agree with his doctrines and teachings.
Is that why he assembled the arsenal?
Possibly. I don't know. Could be very likely, because what happened is Seventh-day Adventist ministers who heard about this Ezekiel 9 slaughter, and you know, it's in our writings, it's there, because Ellen White talked about it, Victor Haddock talked about it, but they were afraid that they were going to be, slaughtered. And when you ask the survivors if they'll really be honest with you, okay, because I have a survivor, an older woman, that changed her whole belief system and rejected Koresh. But she believed in him. And if you ask them, and they're honest with you, they'll tell you that that's what he taught, that he was going to initiate this Ezekiel 9 slaughter, which is the slaughter of everyone that does not believe in his teaching, and that he's the Messiah. Well, that's what the Muslims believe, and that's what I'm trying to say. What we had here was a dramatization of what, in our church, what's going to take place in the world. And it's a wake-up call to Christians and Jews, okay, believers, that this is what's coming. Wake up. What you saw happen here is going to happen in every, synagogue and Christian church. Why? Because the Muslims are going to end up doing it, not the government. But if this government, the United States of America, the lamb-like beast, the beast with lamb-like horns, makes an image to the former beast, that's what it says in Revelation and in Daniel, the United States is the one that's basically setting up the one world order. And it's going to be Sharia law. That's going to be, they're going to take away the Constitution, and they're going to establish Sharia law. You can see it happening all over the world. That's the one world order.